Let's continue along that vein then. Joburgers may soon get some respite from rolling blackouts. City Power has come up with a plan to mitigate the crisis in the city. It's launching a waste to energy project in the economic hub of the country. This is ahead of the Energy Indaba set to take place next week. eNCA's Slindelo Masikane is tracking that and joins me now for an update. So, Sli, realistically, how much energy are we looking at here that City Power is hoping to generate from waste to mitigate the impact of blackouts?
Look, at some point we're obviously going to see what's going to be described as an energy mix taking place here in the economic hub. We know that we simply can't afford to have such rolling blackouts in the country's basically place of business. You know, this is where the money is made, and these continuous rolling blackouts are obviously hampering on production. And so what we are seeing to take place next week is an energy indaba. But one of the projects that's actually currently underway is this waste to energy production. Basically, we're seeing landfill sites, at least two currently right now, that are being used to transform waste into renewable electricity by using some of those biodegradable items. At the current stage right now, the production of this renewable electricity is sitting at around 5%, which is still not enough to be able to mitigate the rolling blackout. But what's being hoped is that it's going to form part of something that's going to be a much bigger plan in order to ensure that we're not seeing rolling blackouts as frequently as we're seeing right now. Let's take a listen.
This site is licensed for 5 megawatts. At the moment, we're generating about 3.2 megawatts when you're looking at the gensets. And it could be more based on the number of sites that are available at City of Johannesburg to generate such energy or possibilities.
Is there a possibility of increasing capacity? I know at this point it's about 1 to 3% that's generating for the grid.
Okay, this is an element of what, 5% to say the least. It could be more because you are diversifying in terms of energy generated from PV to gas to battery storage.
So I imagine then that the plan from the city is that the reliance on Eskom should be reduced, that the city should rely even less and less on Eskom.
The plan is to reduce the reliance, but we can never get rid, from what we've heard from City Power, on actually having Eskom within our grid at this point. But what they are hoping that once this energy indaba takes place and there's, you know, some brainstorming around what we can do in terms of independent power producers coming into play, then possibly the reliance on Eskom will be less as the years go by. Let's take a listen.
We won't get away from Eskom at all, but we want to basically ensure that we get enough capacity to complement what we're already getting from Eskom. So part of what we want to do in terms of the energy strategy of the city of Johannesburg is to basically get about 500 megawatts of electricity from renewable energy, which is what we are going to do when we meet on Monday and Tuesday with partners to find solutions to the problems that we're having. So part of that will basically ensure that we get enough capacity that will cushion the residents of the city of Johannesburg from the problems that we're having with load shedding currently.
All right, Sli, let's see what comes out of this energy indaba. It's coming up in the coming week, and yes, it's really about finding solutions, yes, over and above what Eskom is dealing with.
Of course, certainly so. I mean, we are seeing what's taking place over the past 2 weeks. It's unprecedented to see the number of rolling blackouts we've had on a daily basis here in South Africa, and I think it's a cause for concern, especially when we're trying to have an economic recovery plan take place, when we've seen the amount of job losses taking place over the past 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this energy indaba, certainly for the city of Johannesburg, is quite critical to ensure that the implementation of an economic recovery plan takes place, but also the lived experiences of those in Johannesburg. You know, it's really cold today. Many of us are going to be going home to load shedding, and it's just simply an untenable situation.
Yeah, it's gotten worse and worse. I mean, I'm at a point where I feel like, even announcing it as breaking news. There's nothing breaking about it.
It's our it's our lived experience.
It's at least 15 years. All that has happened is that it has escalated to the daily reality that every day it happens.
I was actually speaking to a colleague of ours, Tulas Heidi, telling her that I'm even willing to get a loan at this point to go get an inverter because I live alone. I simply cannot afford to be in the dark so often.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see also, Slee, as I let you go, interesting to see that this waste to energy is starting to take some kind of shape. Early stages, of course, because I remember this conversation as early as, say, 2010, thereabouts, it started. People were monitoring what the private sector was doing with using, gas for their energy needs and saying that this should be rolled out in the public sector. But it never really took off. So interesting to see. But also in the coming days, I'll be looking forward to hearing what has happened to that deal that we were told the city of Joburg had signed with Kelvin Power Station for 100 megawatts.
I think obviously that's going to come up in terms of that energy in Daba. Absolutely. And the waste to energy project at the moment is taking place at 2 landfill sites. So obviously there's hopes to expand it at some point. And it's also playing its part in terms of ensuring that these biodegradable wastes are actually going into good use.
All right, Slee, thank you. And thank you for indulging me. We've really taken this as far as we can. Slindelo Masikane watching all things energy for us around the city of Joburg and what they are doing around the issue of using waste to generate energy. No shortage of good ideas in this country, just implementation, really. That's where we seem to get stuck.